What would happen if one exhausted moment, one single mistake in the pouring rain, trapped you in a nightmare you could never escape? Chapter 1. Emma Torres could barely keep her eyes open. 14 hours. That's how long her shift at City General Hospital had been. Her feet ached, her scrubs smelled like disinfectant and sweat, and her mind was foggy with exhaustion. But she couldn't rest. Not yet. Not when her mother was lying in a bed 3 floors above the ICU, cancer eating away at her body, medical bills piling up like a mountain Emma could never climb. The rain came down in sheets as Emma pushed through the hospital's exit doors at 2 in the morning. The parking lot was nearly empty, just a few scattered cars and the glow of streetlights reflecting off wet pavement. She pulled out her phone. The Uber app showed her ride was here. A black luxury sedan. License plate ending in 447. There. A black car idled near the curb, headlights cutting through the rain. Emma didn't think twice. She was too tired to think. She ran through the downpour, yanked open the back door, and slid inside. The door closed behind her with a heavy thunk that sounded too final. Thank God, Emma breathed, shaking water from her hair. I thought I'd drown out there. Can you take me to? Her voice died in her throat. The man in the back seat was not a driver waiting patiently up front. He was sitting right beside her, and he was staring at her with eyes so cold they made the rain outside seem warm. He was handsome in a brutal way. Sharp jaw, dark hair slicked back, expensive suit that probably cost more than Emma made in 6 months. But it was his eyes that froze her. They were empty, calculated. The eyes of someone who had seen death so many times it no longer moved him. And there was blood on his hands. Actual blood, dark and fresh, staining his knuckles. You're not Sophia, the man said. His voice was deep, calm, almost amused. Emma's heart stopped. I think I got in the wrong car. I'm so sorry. She reached for the door handle. It didn't move. Locked. Let me out, Emma said, her voice rising with panic. Please, this is a mistake. I ordered an Uber and I thought. You thought wrong. The man leaned forward slightly, and Emma pressed herself against the door. Marco Drive. The car lurched forward, tires hissing on wet pavement. Emma's stomach dropped as the hospital disappeared behind them. No. Stop the car. Emma banged on the window. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm nobody. I'm just a nurse. I have nothing to do with whatever this is. The man watched her with unnerving calm, like she was a mildly interesting insect. You got into my car. You've seen my face. You've seen the blood. He held up his stained hands almost casually. I just killed a man an hour ago. Left his body in a warehouse on 5th Street. And now you, a witness, are sitting in my car asking me to let you go. Emma felt bile rise in her throat. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't real. I won't tell anyone, she whispered desperately. I swear on my life. I'll forget everything. Please just let me go. My mom is sick and she needs me and I can't. Your mother. The man's expression didn't change. Emma Torres, 26 years old, ICU nurse at City General. Mother is Rebecca Torres, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, room 412. You work double shifts to pay for treatment that isn't working. You take the bus most days, but tonight you were too tired. You ordered an Uber. He tilted his head. Did I miss anything? The blood drained from Emma's face. He knew everything. How did he know everything? Who are you? She breathed. Dante Moretti. He said it like she should know the name. Like it should mean something. And then it clicked. Emma had heard whispers in the hospital. Nurses talking in hushed voices about the east side of the city, about the man who controlled everything from drugs to politicians. The man even the police were afraid to touch. She was sitting next to the most dangerous man in the city. I'm going to die, Emma whispered, more to herself than to him. Possibly, Dante replied. That depends entirely on what I decide to do with you. The car wound through dark streets, away from anything familiar. Emma's phone was in her hand. She glanced down at it. 20% battery. No signal. Even if she could call for help, what would she say? She didn't know where she was. Why were you waiting outside the hospital? Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. If she was going to die, she at least wanted answers. I wasn't waiting for you, Dante said. He pulled a white handkerchief from his pocket and began wiping the blood from his hands with mechanical precision. I was waiting for Sophia Chin, a witness who was supposed to testify against me next week. She works night shift at your hospital. Leaves at 2 a.m. every Thursday. Takes a black car service. License plate ending in 447. He looked at Emma. You got into the car meant for a dead woman. Emma's hands shook. She was in a car meant for someone Dante planned to murder. So what now? Emma forced the words out. You kill me instead? Dante studied her for a long moment. There was something in his gaze she couldn't read. Something almost like curiosity. Not yet, he finally said. First, I need to know if you're telling the truth. If you're really just an unlucky nurse, or if you're something more. I'm not anything. Emma's voice cracked. I'm nobody. We'll see. Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his jaw tightening. Change of plans, Marco. Take us to the estate. And make sure we're not followed. The car accelerated. Emma watched the city lights fade into darkness, replaced by empty roads and eventually tall iron gates that opened automatically. A massive mansion loomed ahead, all stone and shadows. This was really happening. She was being taken to a Mafia boss's home as a prisoner. The car stopped. Dante's door opened first, and two large men in black suits appeared. One opened Emma's door. Come quietly, Dante said, buttoning his suit jacket. Or my men will carry you. Your choice. Emma's legs felt like jelly, but she forced herself to stand. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of being dragged. As she walked toward the mansion's entrance, flanked by armed guards, Emma made herself a promise. She would survive this. Whatever it took. Her mother needed her. She just had to figure out how to convince a killer to let her live. Chapter 2. Emma's head throbbed. Her mouth tasted like copper and fear. She tried to move, but cold metal bit into her wrist. Her eyes flew open. She was in a bedroom. Not a cell, but not freedom either. The room was enormous, decorated with expensive furniture and dark curtains that blocked out any hint of daylight. And her left wrist was handcuffed to a heavy brass bedpost. Panic surged through her chest. She yanked at the handcuff, metal scraping against metal, but it held firm. Her nursing scrubs were still damp from the rain. How long had she been unconscious? The door opened. Dante Moretti walked in, looking nothing like the blood-stained man from the car. He wore fresh clothes now, dark slacks and a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He carried a folder in one hand and a glass of water in the other. You're awake, he said, setting the water on the nightstand just out of her reach. A cruel detail that didn't escape Emma's notice. Let me go, Emma said, hating how her voice shook. Please. I told you the truth. I'm nobody. I made a mistake. So you say. Dante opened the folder and pulled out photographs. He laid them on the bed one by one, just close enough for Emma to see. But I don't believe in coincidences. The first photo showed Emma outside the hospital. The second showed her at a coffee shop. The third showed her visiting her mother's room. Someone had been following her. These were taken over the past 3 days, Dante said. Before last night. Before you supposedly got into my car by accident. Emma's blood ran cold. I don't understand. Why would anyone follow me? I'm nobody important. That's what I intend to find out. Dante pulled up a chair and sat, studying her like she was a puzzle to solve. 3 days ago, someone leaked information about my movements to a rival family. That same day, you started taking Ubers instead of the bus. Coincidence? Yes. Emma struggled against the handcuff again. I took Ubers because I've been working overtime. I'm exhausted. My mother is dying and the medical bills are crushing me and I can barely afford to eat, let alone pay for car service. But I was so tired I thought I'd fall asleep on the bus and miss my stop. Her voice broke on the last word. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't cry in front of this man. Dante's expression remained unreadable. Luca, he called out. A man appeared in the doorway. He was older than Dante, maybe 40, with a scar running down his left cheek and eyes that held even less mercy than Dante's. Yes, boss? What do you think? Dante gestured to Emma. Spy or unlucky civilian? Luca barely glanced at her. Does it matter? She's seen too much. Kill her now and dump the body. Clean. Simple. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. No. Please no. She saved me from drinking poisoned wine last week, Dante said, still watching Emma. One of the kitchen staff. Small detail, but she noticed the discoloration before I did. Wait. What? Emma's mind raced. She had never been here before last night. What was he talking about? Then she realized. He was testing her. Seeing if she'd agree with a false memory to save herself. I wasn't here last week, Emma said carefully. I've never been here before last night. I don't know anything about poison wine. Something flickered in Dante's eyes. Approval? Surprise? Luca snorted. She could be well trained. The Kozlov family has sleeper agents. They plant them for months before activation. I'm not an agent. Emma's voice rose. Look at me. I'm a nurse. Check my credentials, call my hospital, talk to my coworkers. I have a life, a real life, and none of it has anything to do with you or your world. Dante stood abruptly. He pulled a phone from his pocket and made a call. Victor, I need a complete background check. Emma Torres, 26, ICU nurse. I want everything. School records, employment history, financial records, social connections. Everything. You have 1 hour. He ended the call and looked at Emma. You have 48 hours to prove you're telling the truth. If my people find even one inconsistency, one connection to any of my enemies, you die. Understood. What if I can prove it sooner? Emma asked desperately. My phone. It has everything. My work schedule, my messages, photos with my mom. Everything that proves I'm exactly who I say I am. Your phone is dead, Dante said. And even if it wasn't, phones can be fabricated. I need independent verification. A loud bang echoed through the mansion. Then another. Gunshots. Dante's entire demeanor changed in an instant. His hand went to his waistband, pulling out a gun. Luca already had his weapon drawn. Stay here, Dante ordered Emma, then looked at Luca. Kozlov. Has to be. They found us. More gunshots, closer now. Shouting. The sound of breaking glass. Dante moved toward the door, but turned back to look at Emma one last time. Their eyes met. In that split second, Emma saw something unexpected. Calculation. He was deciding whether to leave her handcuffed and vulnerable, or free her and risk her escaping. Boss, we need to move. Luca shouted from the hallway. An explosion rocked the mansion. The windows shattered inward, spraying glass across the room. Emma screamed, covering her face with her free arm. The bedpost she was cuffed to groaned but held. Through the broken window, she could see the grounds below. Armed men in black tactical gear were storming the property. This wasn't a small attack. This was an invasion. Dante cursed and ran back to the bed. He pulled a small key from his pocket and unlocked the handcuff. Emma's wrist was free. Why? She gasped. Because if they find you chained to a bed, they'll use you as leverage against me, Dante said coldly. And I don't negotiate. They'd torture you for information, then kill you anyway. At least this way you have a chance to hide. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward a large wardrobe against the wall. He pressed something and the back panel slid open, revealing a dark passage. There's a safe room at the end of this hallway. Lock yourself inside. Don't come out until someone uses the code word sanctuary. If anyone else finds you, you're already dead. What about you? Emma asked, hating that she even cared. Dante's jaw tightened. I'm going to remind these bastards why they should fear my name. He shoved her into the passage. The panel began to slide shut. Wait, Emma called out. What if you die? What if no one says the code word? Dante paused, his face half hidden in shadow. Then I guess you'll die in that room. Either way, your fate is tied to mine now. The panel closed completely, leaving Emma in pitch darkness. She stood frozen for a moment, her heart racing, her mind reeling. Gunshots echoed through the walls. Men were shouting. More explosions. Emma felt along the wall, moving forward through the darkness. Her hands hit a door. She fumbled for a handle, found it, twisted it open. The safe room was small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, with concrete walls and a single dim light. There were supplies stacked in the corner. Water bottles, canned food, a first aid kit. And on a small shelf, a framed photograph. Emma picked it up, squinting in the dim light. It showed a younger Dante, maybe 18 or 19, with his arm around a girl who looked about 15. She had dark hair and a bright smile. They looked happy. Emma turned the frame over. Written on the back in faded ink. Dante and Isabella. Summer 2015. A sister maybe? The resemblance was strong. Another explosion, louder this time, shook dust from the ceiling. Emma set down the photo and sank to the floor, wrapping her arms around her knees. She was trapped in a concrete box in the middle of a war zone, waiting to see if a Mafia boss would survive long enough to maybe, possibly, let her live. And the worst part, a small, traitorous part of her was hoping he survived. Not because she liked him or trusted him, but because right now, Dante Moretti was the only thing standing between her and a dozen men who would kill her without a second thought. Emma closed her eyes and thought of her mother, alone in that hospital room, waiting for a daughter who might never come home. Please, she whispered to no one. Please let me survive this. Outside the safe room, the battle raged on. Chapter 3. Emma didn't know how long she sat in that concrete tomb. Minutes felt like hours. The gunshots had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that was somehow worse. She stared at the door, waiting, her whole body tense. What if everyone was dead? What if no one came? Then she heard footsteps. Heavy boots on concrete, getting closer. Emma's breath caught. She pressed herself against the far wall, looking around desperately for anything she could use as a weapon. Nothing. Just water bottles and canned soup. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Sanctuary. Emma nearly collapsed with relief. It was Dante's voice, rough and strained, but alive. She scrambled to the door and opened it. Dante stood in the hallway and Emma gasped. Blood soaked through his white shirt on the left side. His face was pale, jaw clenched against pain. You're hurt, Emma said, her nurse instincts taking over before her brain could catch up. I've had worse, Dante growled, but he swayed slightly. Behind him, Luca appeared, also bloodied but standing stronger. We need to move, Luca said. There might be more coming. Let me see that wound, Emma said, reaching for Dante's shirt. He caught her wrist. We don't have time. You're losing blood. If an artery is hit, you'll bleed out before you make it anywhere safe. Emma met his eyes steadily. I'm a nurse. Let me help. For a moment, Dante just stared at her. Then he released her wrist and nodded. Emma lifted his shirt carefully. The bullet had grazed his ribs, deep enough to bleed heavily, but not fatal if treated quickly. You're lucky. Another inch, and it would have punctured your lung. We need to stop the bleeding now. She ran back into the safe room and grabbed the first aid kit. Her hands moved on autopilot, the way they did in the ICU during emergencies. Clean the wound, apply pressure, wrap it tight. We need to go, Luca insisted. Now. Done. Emma tied off the bandage. It wouldn't hold for long, but it would keep him alive for now. Dante looked at her with something new in his eyes. Respect maybe. Or suspicion. Why did you help me? Because I'm a nurse, Emma said simply. It's what I do. They moved through the mansion quickly. Emma's stomach turned at the bodies scattered through the halls. Men in tactical gear, bleeding out on expensive carpet. Some of Dante's own men too, faces frozen in death. This was Dante's world. Violence and death and blood. They emerged into a garage where 3 cars waited. Luca got into the driver's seat of a black SUV. Dante gestured for Emma to get in the back, then slid in beside her. The moment the doors closed, the car peeled out. How many did we lose? Dante asked Luca. 7 of ours. 14 of theirs. Luca's voice was cold. Kozlov sent his best. This was a coordinated hit. He'll pay for it, Dante said quietly. The promise of violence hung in the air. Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. Wait, her phone? She pulled it out, confused. The screen showed 20% battery. Someone had charged it. A missed call. 15 missed calls. All from City General Hospital. Her heart stopped. I need to call them back, Emma said, her voice shaking. Dante glanced at her phone, then nodded once. Emma dialed with trembling fingers. A nurse from the oncology floor answered. Emma? Oh, thank God. We've been trying to reach you for hours. What happened? Is it my mom? The pause that followed was too long. Emma, you need to come to the hospital. Your mother's condition has deteriorated rapidly. The doctor said she has maybe 24 hours. I'm so sorry. The phone slipped from Emma's fingers. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 24 hours. Her mother was dying, and Emma was trapped in a car with a Mafia boss who might still kill her. No, Emma whispered. No, no, no. I need to see her. I need to be there. She looked at Dante desperately. Please, whatever you're going to do to me, whatever you decide about whether I'm a spy or not, please just let me see my mother one last time. Please. Tears streamed down her face now. She didn't care about pride anymore. She would beg if she had to. Dante's expression was unreadable. Luca, change of destination. City General Hospital. Emma's heart leaped with desperate hope. Boss, that's a bad idea, Luca said. The hospital will have security cameras. Police. If anyone sees you. I don't care, Dante said flatly. Drive. The hospital appeared through the windshield 20 minutes later. Emma had never been so relieved to see those ugly brick walls. But before she could reach for the door, Dante grabbed her arm. Listen carefully, he said, his dark eyes boring into hers. I'm giving you this time with your mother. But afterward, you come back to me. Voluntarily. You walk out of that hospital and get back in this car. Why would I do that? Emma asked, even though she already knew there would be a catch. Because if you don't, I'll make one phone call. Your mother's hospital will lose its primary funding. I own 40% of City General's operating budget through shell companies. Cancer treatment is expensive, Emma. Without that funding, the hospital will have to make cuts. They'll start with the patients who can't pay. Emma felt sick. You're blackmailing me with my dying mother. I'm giving you a choice, Dante corrected. See your mother now. Say goodbye. Then return to me until I'm satisfied you're not a threat. Or run, and watch the hospital that's keeping your mother comfortable lose the resources to do so. It wasn't a choice at all. It was a cage disguised as mercy. How long? Emma asked quietly. How long do I have to stay with you? Until I'm certain you're not lying. Could be days. Could be weeks. Emma closed her eyes. Her mother had 24 hours left. Maybe less. If Emma ran now, if she refused, she'd destroy the place trying to save her mother's life. But if she agreed, she'd be trading her freedom for her mother's final hours of peace. Okay, Emma whispered. I'll come back. I promise. Dante studied her face, searching for deception. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him because he released her arm. Luca will wait here. You have 4 hours. If you're not back by then, the call gets made. Emma practically fell out of the car and ran for the hospital entrance. She didn't look back. The oncology floor was quiet. Emma's shoes squeaked on linoleum as she hurried to room 412. She pushed open the door. Her mother looked so small in that hospital bed. Rebecca Torres had always been a strong woman, but cancer had stolen that strength. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow. Mom, Emma choked out, rushing to her side. Rebecca's eyes fluttered open. A weak smile crossed her face. Emma, my baby girl, where have you been? I'm so sorry. I'm here now. I'm here. Emma took her mother's hand, careful of the 4-line. They talked for hours. Rebecca drifted in and out of consciousness, but when she was awake, she held Emma's hand and told her stories. About Emma as a little girl. About Emma's father who died when Emma was 5. About how proud she was of the woman Emma had become. Promise me something, Rebecca whispered as dawn light began filtering through the window. Anything, Mom. Promise me you'll live. Really live. Not just survive. Find love. Find happiness. Don't let my death make you small. Emma's throat was too tight to speak. She just nodded, tears falling onto their joined hands. Rebecca squeezed her hand weakly. I love you, Emma. So much. I love you too, Mom. Rebecca's eyes closed. Her breathing evened out into sleep. Emma sat there, watching her mother's chest rise and fall, memorizing every detail of her face. The nurses came and went checking vitals, adjusting medications. No one told Emma she had to leave. But the clock on the wall kept ticking. 4 hours passed. Then 5. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Time's up. Come down now or the call gets made. Emma looked at her sleeping mother one last time. She leaned down and kissed her forehead. I have to go, Mom. But I'll come back. I promise. She walked out of the room, down the hallway, into the elevator. Her body moved on autopilot. Everything felt numb. The black SUV was still waiting at the side entrance. Emma opened the door and climbed in. Dante was on his phone, speaking rapidly in Italian. He ended the call when he saw her. Your mother, he asked. Still alive. Sleeping. Emma's voice sounded hollow to her own ears. Dante nodded and said nothing else. The car drove away from the hospital. They arrived at a different property this time, smaller than the mansion but still heavily guarded. Dante led Emma inside to a bedroom. Not handcuffed this time. Just a room with a lock on the outside. Get some rest, Dante said. We'll talk later. But before he could leave, Emma spoke. Why did you let me go to her? Really? You could have just said no. Dante paused in the doorway, his back to her. For a long moment, he didn't answer. I had a sister once, he finally said, his voice quiet. Isabella. She was sick. I was away on business when she died. I never got to say goodbye. He looked back at Emma, his expression carefully blank. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Then he left, the lock clicking behind him. Emma sank onto the bed and let herself cry. For her mother. For her stolen freedom. For the impossible situation she was trapped in. Hours later, she was jolted awake by shouting. Footsteps running. Something was wrong. Emma ran to the door and pounded on it. What's happening? No answer. Then the door flew open. But it wasn't Dante or his men. It was Luca, and he had a gun pointed directly at Emma's face. "You lying little spy," he snarled. "I knew it." Behind him, Emma could see two men dragging an unconscious Dante down the hallway, blood pooling from a wound in his side. "What did you do?" Emma breathed in horror. Luca smiled, and it was the cruelest thing Emma had ever seen. "I saved the family from Dante's weakness. He was going soft because of you. But don't worry, you'll be joining him soon, right after you watch him die." Chapter 4. Emma's mind raced. Luca's gun was steady, pointed at her chest. Down the hall, Dante's unconscious body was being dragged away, leaving a trail of blood on the marble floor. "You're making a mistake," Emma said, forcing her voice to stay calm. "I'm not a spy." Luca laughed harshly. "Oh, I know exactly what you are. You're nobody, just a stupid nurse. But Dante looks at you and sees his dead sister. He's getting sentimental, weak. And weak leaders get their families killed. So you're staging a coup," Emma said. "I'm saving us." Luca stepped closer. "Dante's father would have killed you the second you saw his face. But Dante? He let you live. He took you to see your dying mother. He's compromised." A gunshot exploded through the hallway, but not from Luca's weapon. Luca stumbled forward, a red stain blooming on his shoulder. Behind him stood Dante, conscious but barely standing, a gun in his shaking hand. "You always talk too much, Luca," Dante rasped. Luca spun, raising his weapon, but Dante fired again. Luca went down, clutching his leg. Dante swayed, his face gray, and collapsed against the wall. Emma ran to him. The bullet hole in his side was deep, bleeding heavily. "You idiot," Emma muttered, ripping his shirt open. "You should be dead." "Too stubborn to die," Dante said weakly. Emma grabbed a curtain and tore it into strips, creating makeshift bandages. Luca was crawling toward his gun. Emma made a split-second decision. She grabbed Dante's fallen gun and pointed it at Luca. "Don't move," she said. Luca smiled. "You won't shoot. You're a nurse. You save lives." "Emma." Dante's voice was fading. "If you don't stop him, he'll kill us both. Then he'll go after your mother." Emma's hand steadied. She pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the floor inches from Luca's hand. "The next one goes in your skull," Emma said. "Stay down." Sirens wailed in the distance. They needed to leave. Emma got under Dante's arm, and they stumbled to a garage where a motorcycle waited. "You know how to drive one of these?" Dante asked. "No," Emma admitted. "Learn fast." They barely escaped as police cars arrived. Emma drove randomly through the city until she was sure no one followed. She pulled into an empty parking garage. Dante slumped against her, barely conscious. Her phone buzzed. "The hospital." "Emma Torres?" "Yes. This is Dr. Patterson. I'm so sorry. Your mother passed away 20 minutes ago. It was peaceful. The world stopped. Her mother was gone. While Emma was running for her life, her mother had died alone." "I'll be there soon," Emma whispered. She sat on the cold concrete, tears streaming down her face. Everything she'd fought for, and she wasn't there when it mattered most. "Emma." Dante's voice cut through her grief. "What happened?" "My mother died." The words felt unreal. Dante was quiet. "I'm sorry. Go to her. Say goodbye. You'll die if I leave you here." "Probably. But she's your mother. Go." Emma stared at him. He was giving her an out. She could leave right now and never look back. But she thought about Dante saving her life. About him letting her see her mother. About the promise she'd made to really live. "I can't," Emma said quietly. "I made a promise to come back. I keep my promises." Dante gave her an address for a doctor who wouldn't ask questions. They performed surgery in a basement clinic. 3 hours later, Dante was stable. The funeral was 3 days later. Small and gray. Emma stood at the grave long after everyone left, numb. "I'm sorry I wasn't there, Mom," she whispered. Someone approached. It was Dante, dressed in a dark suit, still pale from blood loss. "You should be in bed," Emma said. "I wanted to pay my respects." Dante paused. "She raised a daughter brave enough to save my life twice. That deserves respect." They stood in silence. "You're free to go," Dante said quietly. "My people verified your background. You were telling the truth. You're not a spy. You're not a threat." Emma should have felt relief. Instead, she felt lost. "Where would I go?" Emma asked softly. "I have no family now. My apartment lease is up. All my savings went to medical bills. Freedom doesn't mean much when you have nothing to be free for." Dante turned to look at her. Then don't go. Work for me. You saved my life. I could use someone with your skills. A salary that would make your hospital job look like pocket change. A place to live. Security. A purpose. Emma knew she should say no. But she thought about going back to her empty apartment. Back to a life that felt hollow now. If I say yes, I want one condition. When I save lives, you don't take them. If I patch someone up, you don't kill them afterward. I won't be part of murder. Dante considered this. Agreed. But understand, I can't change who I am. I'm still the man you met in that car. Still dangerous. I know. Emma took a deep breath. My answer is yes. He held out his hand. Emma shook it. Welcome to the family, Emma Torres. That night, Emma moved into a guest house on Dante's property. Dante brought her food. Why are you really doing this? Emma asked. Dante was quiet for a long moment. When Isabella died, I was alone. No one came to her funeral except me. I buried my sister by myself in the rain. I swore I'd never let anyone I cared about face death alone again. 3 days passed. Emma settled into a strange new routine. Everyone treated her with cautious respect. Word had spread that she'd saved the boss twice. On the 4th morning, Dante appeared with news. We have a problem. Luca surfaced. He's holding 2 of my men hostage. He wants to trade them for you. Emma's blood ran cold. For me? Because he knows killing you would hurt me. He's trying to draw me into a trap. What if we give him what he wants? Use me as bait? Absolutely not. Before Emma could respond, the lights went out. An alarm blared. We've been breached, Dante said. Men in tactical gear poured through windows and doors. Dante grabbed Emma and they ran. Bullets slammed into walls around them. They burst into a garage and dove into a waiting car. The driver floored it, crashing through the garage door. Who was that? Emma gasped. Kozlov family, Dante said grimly. Luca told them where we were. 3 cars followed them, gaining fast. Gunshots shattered the back window. Glass rained down. Emma closed her eyes and made a decision. When she opened them, her voice was steady. Then let's make sure it's them, not us. Dante looked at her and smiled. A real smile. Now you're thinking like one of us. The car raced through the night, death chasing close behind. And Emma realized something terrifying. She didn't want to go back to her old life. She wanted to survive this one. Chapter 5. The car swerved violently as bullets punched through the metal. Emma ducked, covering her head as glass exploded around them. The driver grunted and slumped forward. Dead. The car veered off the road, crashing through a guardrail. Emma screamed as they tumbled down an embankment, metal screeching, the world spinning. The car slammed to a stop against a tree. For a moment, everything was silent except for the ringing in Emma's ears. Emma! Dante's voice cut through the fog. Can you move? She checked herself. Bruises, cuts, but nothing broken. Yes. You! Dante kicked open his door, already moving despite the blood seeping through his shirt. His wound had reopened. We have 30 seconds before they find us. Move. They stumbled out of the wreckage and into the woods. Emma could hear car doors slamming above them on the road. Voices shouting in Russian. Dante grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the darkness. They ran, branches whipping at their faces, roots trying to trip them. Emma's lungs burned, but she didn't stop. Behind them, flashlight beams cut through the trees. Dogs barked. They have tracking dogs, Dante said grimly. We need to find water. Break the scent trail. They ran for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Emma's legs screamed in protest. Just when she thought she couldn't take another step, she heard it. Running water. A stream cut through the forest, narrow but deep enough. Dante pulled Emma into the freezing water. They waded downstream, the current pulling at their legs. The cold was brutal, stealing the breath from Emma's lungs. After a mile, Dante climbed out onto the opposite bank. Emma followed, shivering violently. Her teeth chattered so hard she thought they might break. There, Dante pointed to a structure barely visible through the trees. An old hunting cabin, windows boarded up, half collapsed. Inside, it was barely warmer, but at least they were out of the wind. Dante immediately started checking the place, looking for supplies, exits, threats. Emma sank to the floor, exhausted. You're wound, she said, noticing the fresh blood on his shirt. I'll live. Let me see it. Dante hesitated, then lifted his shirt. The stitches had torn. Blood flowed freely. Emma searched the cabin and found a dusty first aid kit. Most of it was useless, but there were bandages and antiseptic that hadn't expired too badly. "This is going to hurt," Emma warned. "Everything hurts," Dante said flatly. Emma cleaned the wound as best she could and rebandaged it. Her hands were steadier now, falling into the familiar rhythm of medical care. When she finished, Dante caught her wrist gently. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for not running when you had the chance." "Where would I run to?" Emma asked. "They want me because of you. Without you, I'm dead anyway." "Smart and practical," Dante said. There was something in his eyes she couldn't read. "My sister would have liked you." "Tell me about her," Emma said softly. "About Isabella." Dante was quiet for so long Emma thought he wouldn't answer. Then he spoke, his voice distant. "She was 15 when they took her. I was 23, just starting to take over my father's territory. Our enemies kidnapped her to send a message. They tortured her for 3 days before killing her." His jaw tightened. "I found her body in a warehouse. She'd written my name in her own blood on the floor. Her last thought was of me." Emma's heart broke for him. "I'm so sorry. After that, I vowed never to love anyone again. Love is a weakness in my world. It gets people killed." Dante looked at her. "But you keep saving my life. You keep choosing to stay. It makes things complicated." "Why does it make things complicated?" Emma asked, her pulse quickening. Before Dante could answer, a wave of nausea hit Emma so hard she doubled over. Pain shot through her abdomen, sharp and intense. "Emma!" Dante was at her side instantly. "What's wrong?" "I don't know," Emma gasped. The pain was getting worse, radiating from her lower belly. "Something's wrong." Another wave of pain. Emma felt wetness between her legs. Blood. She looked down and saw it staining her pants. Horror filled her as realization hit. "No. No, no, no. Emma, talk to me. What's happening?" "I'm pregnant," Emma whispered. "Was pregnant. A few weeks. I didn't even know until a few days ago." Tears streamed down her face. "It's ectopic. The pregnancy is in my fallopian tube. If it ruptures, I'll bleed out internally." Dante's face went white. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. Minutes. Hours. I need surgery or I'll die." Dante pulled out his phone. No signal. He cursed and tried again. Nothing. "There's a town about 5 miles from here," Dante said, already moving. "An underground doctor I know. If I can get you there." "I can't walk 5 miles like this," Emma said, the pain making her vision blur. "Then I'll carry you." Dante scooped her up as if she weighed nothing. "You're not dying. Not today." He kicked open the cabin door and started walking. Emma tried to protest, but the pain was too much. She buried her face in his chest, biting back screams. Hours passed in a haze of agony. Dante never stopped, never slowed, even though Emma could feel him shaking from exhaustion. Finally, lights appeared through the trees. The doctor's clinic was hidden in the basement of a veterinary hospital. An older man with kind eyes took one look at Emma and started barking orders. "Get her on the table. Now." They prepped Emma for emergency surgery. As the anesthesia started to take effect, Emma grabbed Dante's hand. "Whose baby was it?" Dante asked quietly. "My ex-boyfriend," Emma whispered. "From before. Before all this. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." Something shifted in Dante's expression. "It doesn't matter. Just survive. That's all that matters." The world went dark. Emma woke to bright lights and the smell of antiseptic. Her abdomen ached, but the sharp pain was gone. She was alive. Dante sat in a chair beside her bed, his head in his hands. When he heard her stir, he looked up. His eyes were red. "You're awake," he said, relief flooding his voice. "How long was I out?" 6 hours. "The surgery went well. You'll recover fully." Emma closed her eyes. "The baby." "I know. I'm sorry." They sat in silence for a moment. "I should let you rest," Dante said, standing. "Wait." Emma caught his hand. "Why did you save me? Why do you keep saving me?" Dante looked at their joined hands. When he spoke, his voice was raw. "Because when I look at you, I don't see weakness. I see strength. You've been through hell, and you're still fighting. You remind me that not everything in this world has to be about death and violence." He met her eyes. "You make me want to be someone different. Someone better. And that terrifies me." Emma's breath caught. "Dante." A phone buzzed. Dante checked it, and his expression hardened. "Luca. He knows where we are. We have maybe an hour before he arrives with the Kozlov family. Then we run again," Emma said, trying to sit up. "No." Dante's voice was cold now, the moment of vulnerability gone. This ends tonight. I'm done running. Emma watched as Dante pulled weapons from hidden compartments around the clinic. Guns. Knives. He was preparing for war. What are you going to do? Emma asked. Dante looked at her, and in his eyes she saw the killer from that first night in the car. I'm going to remind them why they should have killed me when they had the chance. Chapter 6. The clinic's basement felt like a tomb. Emma sat on the edge of the hospital bed, her abdomen still aching from surgery, watching Dante load ammunition into multiple guns. His movements were mechanical, precise, deadly. This was the real Dante Moretti. Not the man who'd carried her 5 miles through the woods. Not the man who'd held her hand during surgery. This was the killer. You should stay here, Dante said without looking at her. The doctor has a safe room. Lock yourself inside until this is over. And if you don't come back? Emma asked. Then you wait 3 days and call this number. He handed her a card. They'll get you somewhere safe. New identity, new life, far away from all this. Emma stared at the card. Freedom. A way out. Everything she should want. So why did the thought of Dante dying make her chest feel hollow? Before she could answer, the building shook. An explosion, close enough to rattle the walls. Dante cursed and grabbed his phone. His face went dark as he read the message. They're not waiting an hour. They're here now. Gunshots erupted upstairs. Glass shattered. Men shouted in Russian. Dante moved toward the stairs, but Emma grabbed his arm. Don't go up there. It's suicide. I don't have a choice. Dante's eyes were hard. If I don't stop them here, they'll hunt us forever. Better to end it now. More gunshots. Closer. The door at the top of the stairs exploded inward. 3 men in tactical gear rushed down, weapons raised. Dante fired. 2 men dropped. The third got a shot off before Dante put him down. The bullet caught Dante in the shoulder, spinning him around. He stumbled, blood blooming through his shirt. Emma screamed his name. More men were coming down the stairs. Dante fired again, dropping one, but there were too many. They were going to die here. Then Emma saw it. A gas line running along the basement ceiling. The building was old, probably hadn't been updated in decades. If she could rupture it and create a spark. Dante, get down. Emma grabbed a metal tray and hurled it at the gas line. It connected, cracking the pipe. Gas began hissing out. She grabbed Dante's lighter from his pocket and threw it. The explosion knocked them both backward. Flames roared up the stairwell, cutting off the attackers. Screams echoed from above. The back exit, Dante gasped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Now! They stumbled through a narrow hallway and burst out into an alley. A black car waited, engine running. One of Dante's men at the wheel. Boss, we need to go. They threw themselves into the car. It peeled away from the curb as the building behind them erupted in flames. Emma looked back and saw men pouring out of the burning structure, some on fire, all furious. Did we just burn down a veterinary hospital? Emma asked, slightly hysterical. It was a front for money laundering, Dante said through gritted teeth. No actual animals. His shoulder was bleeding badly. Emma tore off her shirt, leaving her in just a tank top, and pressed the fabric against the wound. Dante hissed in pain but didn't pull away. Where are we going? Emma asked the driver. Safe house. 20 miles outside the city. Kozlov family won't find it. But they did. 3 hours later, as Emma was cleaning Dante's wound in the safe house bathroom, gunshots shattered the windows. The driver was dead before he hit the floor. How did they find us? Emma shouted over the noise. Dante's face went pale. Not from blood loss. From realization. Luca. He must have put a tracker on me during the first attack. Dante ripped open his shirt, searching. There, embedded in the fabric of his belt. A tiny electronic device, blinking red. He's been following us this whole time, Emma whispered. More gunshots. The front door exploded. Men rushed in. Dante grabbed Emma, and they ran for the back of the house. But more men waited there. They were surrounded. Dante raised his gun, but Emma saw his hand shaking. He'd lost too much blood. He wouldn't make the shot. Time seemed to slow. Emma saw one of the attackers aim directly at Dante's head. She saw Dante's finger on the trigger. She saw the moment Dante realized he was going to die. And Emma moved. She threw herself in front of Dante just as the attacker fired. The bullet meant for Dante's head caught Emma in the side, right below her ribs. White-hot pain exploded through her body. She collapsed. Emma! Dante's scream sounded far away. What happened next came in flashes. Dante firing with deadly accuracy, dropping 4 men in seconds. More gunshots. Bodies falling. Dante picking Emma up, his face twisted in anguish. Running. A car. Darkness. Emma woke in what looked like a private hospital room. Machines beeped steadily, and 4 dripped clear fluid into her arm. Her side felt like it was on fire. You're awake. Dante sat in a chair beside her bed. He looked terrible. His shoulder was bandaged but blood had seeped through. His face was gray with exhaustion, and his eyes, usually so controlled, looked raw with emotion. You took a bullet for me, he said quietly. Why? I don't know, Emma admitted. Instinct, I guess. Instinct. Dante's voice was flat. People don't take bullets for their captors out of instinct, Emma. The machines beeped in the silence between them. The baby, Dante said finally. Your ex-boyfriend. Tell me about him. Emma's stomach twisted. His name was Marcus. We dated for 6 months. It ended badly. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you took me. I was going to get an abortion, but then everything happened so fast, and I couldn't think about it. You should have told me. Why? So you could use it against me? Emma's voice cracked. I barely knew what it meant myself. Dante stood abruptly. He walked to the window, his back to her. I'm letting you go, he said coldly. When you're healed enough to travel, you're free. New identity, new city, whatever you need. My people will set it up. Emma's heart stopped. What? Why? Because this was always temporary. You were a complication. Now you're a liability. Dante's voice was ice. I don't do attachments. I told you that from the start. You're lying, Emma said. I can hear it in your voice. Dante spun around, and the look on his face made Emma flinch. You want the truth? Fine. Every time I look at you, I see my sister. I see weakness. I see the reason men in my world die. You make me vulnerable, Emma. And I can't afford that. So you're just going to throw me away? I'm setting you free. There's a difference. Emma tried to sit up, pain shooting through her side. I don't believe you. After everything we've been through. It was survival. Nothing more. Dante's mask was perfect now. The cold Mafia boss was back. The doctor says you can travel in 3 days. Pack your things. This is goodbye. He walked out without looking back. Emma stared at the closed door, tears streaming down her face. 3 days. She had 3 days before she lost him forever. But she didn't get 3 days. That night, as Emma slept fitfully, men in black masks stormed the hospital room. They moved silently, professionally. One clamped a hand over Emma's mouth before she could scream. Another jabbed a needle into her arm. The last thing Emma saw before darkness took her was a familiar scarred face. Luca. And he was smiling. Chapter 7. Dante knew something was wrong the moment he woke. The air felt different. Wrong. He grabbed his gun and moved silently down the hallway toward Emma's room. The door was open. That was his first clue. The second was the blood on the floor. Just drops, but enough. The third was the note pinned to Emma's empty bed with a knife. She screams your name when we hurt her. Come to the Riverside warehouse alone at midnight if you want her back. Bring anyone and she dies. Luca. Dante's hand crushed the note. His vision went red. Every instinct screamed at him to grab his weapons and go. But Luca was smart. He'd be expecting that. Dante pulled out his phone and made a call. Victor. I need satellite footage of the Riverside district. Every warehouse, every building, every possible location. And I need it 5 minutes ago. While he waited, Dante methodically armed himself. Guns. Knives. Explosives. He was going to war. His phone buzzed. Victor had sent through thermal imaging of 12 possible locations. Dante studied each one. There. The old meat packing plant. 20 heat signatures inside. One isolated in the center. That had to be Emma. Dante checked his watch. He had 4 hours until midnight. Plenty of time to plan something bloody. At the warehouse, Emma hung from chains attached to the ceiling. Her arms screamed in agony. Her face was swollen from multiple beatings. Blood dripped from her split lip onto the concrete floor. Luca circled her like a predator. Tell me where Dante keeps his offshore accounts, Luca said casually. The access codes. The passwords. Everything. I don't know, Emma gasped. He never told me anything. Luca sighed and nodded to one of his men. The man brought over a bucket of water. Emma's eyes widened in terror. She knew what was coming. They forced her head into the bucket. Water filled her nose, her mouth, her lungs. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Just pure animal panic as she drowned. They pulled her up. Emma coughed violently, vomiting water. Ready to talk? Luca asked. I don't know anything, Emma sobbed. The bucket again. And again. And again. Time lost meaning. There was only pain and water and the desperate need for air. Emma's mind started to fracture. Maybe if she just gave up. Maybe if she stopped fighting, the pain would end. Then she thought of Dante. Of his face when he'd told her she was free. Of the lie in his eyes when he'd said she meant nothing. He'd lied to protect her. To push her away before she got hurt. And now she was here anyway. Emma lifted her head, water streaming from her hair, and looked Luca dead in the eye. Go to hell, she whispered. Luca's face twisted in rage. He grabbed a lit cigarette from one of his men and pressed it against Emma's arm. She screamed. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. You want to be loyal to him? Fine. Let's see how loyal you are after I break every bone in your body. Luca pulled out a metal pipe. The warehouse door exploded. Smoke grenades filled the room. Gunshots erupted. Men screamed. Through the chaos, Emma saw a figure moving like death itself. Dante. He wasn't alone. Dozens of his men poured through every entrance. But Dante led the charge, and Emma had never seen anything so terrifying or beautiful in her life. He moved with lethal grace, dropping men with perfect headshots, never missing, never hesitating. He was a force of nature. Unstoppable. Luca grabbed Emma, pressing a knife to her throat. Stop or she dies, Luca shouted. The gunfire ceased. Dante stood 30 feet away, gun raised, aimed directly at Luca's head. Let her go, Dante said. His voice was deadly calm. Drop your weapon first. You know I won't do that. Luca pressed the knife harder. A trickle of blood ran down Emma's neck. Then watch her die. If you kill her, Dante said quietly, I will spend the rest of your very short life making you beg for death. I will break every bone in your body. I will cut off pieces of you and make you watch. I will hurt you in ways you can't imagine. And when you finally die, I will find everyone you've ever loved and do the same to them. The complete lack of emotion in Dante's voice was more frightening than any scream. Luca's hand trembled. You've gone soft for this girl. The old Dante would have taken the shot and accepted collateral damage. You're right, Dante said. The old Dante would have. But she changed me. And now you're going to pay for touching what's mine. Dante moved. Faster than Emma thought possible. He fired. The bullet caught Luca's hand, making him drop the knife. Dante closed the distance in seconds, grabbing Luca and throwing him across the room. Someone cut Emma's chains. She collapsed, but strong arms caught her. Dante's arms. I've got you, he whispered. You're safe now. Emma clung to him, her body shaking with sobs. I didn't tell him anything. I swear. I know. I know. Dante's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. No. Emma pulled back to look at him. Don't you dare. I chose to stay with you. I chose this. Behind them, Luca was struggling to his feet. Dante gently set Emma down and turned. His face was a mask of cold fury. Everyone out, Dante ordered his men. Now! They obeyed without question. Even Emma tried to stand, but Dante stopped her. Stay. I want you to see this. To understand what I am. Dante walked toward Luca. Luca pulled a gun, but Dante was faster, kicking it away. Then Dante's fists became weapons. He beat Luca with methodical brutality. Each punch calculated for maximum pain. You betrayed me, Dante said between hits. You, who I called brother. You, who I trusted with my life. Luca's face was a bloody mess. I did what was necessary. You were weak. Weak. Dante grabbed Luca by the throat, lifting him off the ground. I burned down half the city looking for her. I killed 40 men tonight getting here. Tell me again how weak I am. Luca's eyes bulged, unable to breathe. Wait. Emma's voice cut through the violence. Don't kill him yet. I need to know something. Dante looked at her, surprised. Emma struggled to her feet and limped toward them. She looked Luca in his battered face. Dante's sister. Isabella. How did she really die? Luca laughed, blood bubbling from his lips. You want the truth? Fine. Dante's father ordered the hit. Said Isabella made Dante soft. Said she was a liability. I was there. I helped carry it out. The color drained from Dante's face. You're lying. Ask your father, Luca wheezed. He'll tell you. He chose the Empire over his own daughter. Just like you should have chosen the Empire over this bitch. Dante's hands tightened around Luca's throat. This time, he didn't stop. Luca's struggles grew weaker. Weaker. Then stopped entirely. Dante let the body fall and stood there, staring at his hands. Emma saw tears on his face. The first tears she'd ever seen from him. "My father killed her," Dante whispered. "My own father." Emma went to him, wrapping her arms around him from behind despite her own pain. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Dante turned and pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I pushed you away to protect you. And you almost died anyway. I can't do this anymore, Emma. I can't pretend you don't matter." "Then don't," Emma said softly. They stood there in the warehouse surrounded by bodies and blood, holding each other like they were the only real things in the world. "I love you," Dante said. The words sounded torn from somewhere deep inside him. "I think I've loved you since you saved my life the first time. And it terrifies me." Emma pulled back to look at him. "I love you too. Even though you're a killer. Even though your world is violence. I love you anyway." They kissed, desperate and hungry, tasting blood and tears and survival. A phone buzzed. Dante answered it, listening intently. His expression darkened. "My father wants to meet. Tomorrow night. He knows about you." Dante looked at Emma. "This isn't over. It's just beginning." Chapter 8. The meeting was set for midnight at Dante's father's estate. Emma sat in the passenger seat of Dante's car, watching the mansion grow larger as they approached. Her ribs still ached from the torture. Her burns throbbed. But she'd insisted on coming. "You could wait in the car," Dante said for the 10th time. "No," Emma said firmly. "We do this together." Dante's father, Lorenzo Moretti, was everything Emma expected and worse. He sat behind a massive desk in a study that smelled of cigars and old money. His hair was silver, his suit impeccable, his eyes as cold as his son's. "So this is the girl who's made you weak," Lorenzo said, not bothering with greetings. "She's made me stronger," Dante replied. "Strong enough to ask questions I should have asked years ago. Such as, why did you kill Isabella?" The silence that followed was deafening. Lorenzo's face showed no emotion. "Luca had a loose tongue before he died, I see," Lorenzo said calmly. "Yes, I ordered it. Your sister was a vulnerability. Enemies were already planning to use her against you. I simply removed the option." Emma felt Dante go rigid beside her. "She was 15 years old," Dante said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "She was innocent. There is no innocence in our world." Lorenzo leaned back in his chair. "I did what was necessary to secure your future. To make you the leader I needed you to be. And it worked. You became ruthless. Feared. Powerful. You turned me into a monster," Dante said. "I turned you into a king." Lorenzo's eyes flickered to Emma. "But now you're throwing it all away for a nurse who means nothing." "She means everything," Dante said quietly. Lorenzo smiled, and it was cruel. "Then you've already lost. Love is death in our world, Dante. I thought I taught you that." "You taught me a lot of things," Dante said. He pulled out a gun and aimed it at his father. "But the most important lesson? Sometimes the monster you should fear most is the one who raised you." Lorenzo didn't flinch. "You won't shoot me. I'm your father. You stopped being my father the day you killed my sister." Emma put her hand on Dante's arm. "Wait, there's another way." She pulled out a small recording device. Lorenzo's eyes widened as he recognized it. "I've been recording since we walked in," Emma said. "Your confession. Everything. I can send this to the FBI with one button press. They've been trying to nail you for decades." "You wouldn't dare," Lorenzo hissed. "Try me," Emma said coldly. "Dante and I walk out of here alive and free, or every law enforcement agency in the country gets this recording in the next 60 seconds. Lorenzo's face turned red with rage. "You think you can blackmail me, girl? I think we're giving you a choice," Dante said. "Let us go. Publicly announce your retirement. Hand control of the family businesses to someone who will transition them legitimate. Or Emma sends that recording and you die in federal prison." "If I agree, you'll come back," Lorenzo said. "Someday you'll realize she's not worth it, and you'll come crawling back." "No," Dante said firmly. "I'm done. With all of it. The violence, the empire, the blood. I'm walking away." "They'll kill you," Lorenzo said. "The other families won't let you just leave." "Then let them try." Dante holstered his gun. "Come on, Emma. We're done here." They walked out. Emma didn't breathe until they were back in the car. "He'll come after us," Emma said. "I know." Dante started the engine. "That's why we're not going to give him the chance." Over the next week, Dante dismantled everything. He released the recording to federal prosecutors with immunity deals already in place. He handed over evidence of corruption that would take down dozens of dirty politicians and cops. He transferred control of legitimate businesses to trusted associates. And then, on a Tuesday morning, Dante Moretti died. The news reported a car bomb. A body burned beyond recognition. Dental records confirmed. The king of the criminal underworld was dead. In reality, Emma and Dante were on a plane to a small town in Montana under new names. David and Emily Richardson. A couple starting over. 6 months later, Emma stood in the doorway of a small free clinic. A sign above the door read, Rebecca Torres Memorial Health Center. The clinic served the poorest neighborhood in the small town. People who couldn't afford insurance, couldn't afford doctors, couldn't afford to get sick. Emma treated them all for free, funded by the money Dante had hidden away over the years. She was pregnant again. For months along. This time, the baby was healthy. This time, the baby was theirs. The door opened and Dante walked in carrying flowers. He looked different now. Casual clothes instead of expensive suits. Longer hair. A real smile that actually reached his eyes. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her cheek. "Good. Busy. Mrs. Chen's arthritis is improving. Little Tommy's asthma is under control. And we had 3 new patients." "You're amazing," Dante said, his hand resting on her growing belly. "You know that." "We're amazing," Emma corrected. Together, they went home to a small house with a porch swing and a garden. Nothing like the mansion. Nothing like the violence. Just normal and safe in theirs. That night, as they lay in bed, Emma asked the question that had been on her mind. "Do you miss it? The power? The control?" Dante was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes I miss the certainty of it. Knowing who I was. What I was." He pulled her closer. "But then I look at you and I remember what I chose. I chose life over death. Love over fear. And I'd make the same choice 1,000 times." Emma kissed him. "I love you. I love you too." 6 months pregnant turned to 9. Emma went into labor on a snowy December night. Dante drove her to the hospital, holding her hand, coaching her breathing, being everything she needed. Their daughter was born at dawn. Perfect and tiny and screaming with life. They named her Isabella Rebecca. After the sister Dante lost and the mother Emma loved. As Emma held her daughter, looking at Dante's tear-streaked face, she thought about that rainy night when she'd gotten into the wrong car. How one mistake had led to this moment. Sometimes the wrong turn leads you exactly where you're meant to be. Sometimes monsters can become men. Sometimes love doesn't just conquer, it transforms. And sometimes, just sometimes, the nightmare turns into a dream worth living. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel for more heartfelt and emotional stories like this one. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Your support truly means the world and helps me create even more amazing content for you. Make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. See you in the next video.